once again, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about the concept of contagion. In our last videos, we talked about introduction to microbiology. We were able to realize or recognize some of the scientists that made significant contribution to the field of microbiology. We talked about the the rise of biogenesis. Then we also talked about or spontaneous generation. Then we also talked about abiogenesis, and we talked about the rise of microbiology. We were able to talk about these scientists that made significant contributions to the rise of microbiology. Today we'll be talking about the concept of contagion. So basically, there are two major concepts when it comes to infectious diseases. We have the germ theory and the miasmas theory. In the germ theory, it states that microorganisms or pathogens known as germs are caused, or diseases are caused by microorganisms known as germs or pathogens. And this was credited to scientists such as Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch for their experiment. So in the rise of microbiology, we find out in our previous lecture that there were certain scientists that proved biogenesis, that is the cause of disease as a result of microorganisms, or the rise of life as a result of previous life. So Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch also made significant contribution to the proving of germs, that microorganisms or pathogens are really disease-causing microorganisms. Then we have the archaic theory, that is the miasmas theory. So before the rise of microbiology, or before the germ theory, the accepted theory was the miasmas theory. And this miasmas theory states that diseases are products from bad air emanating from rotten, decaying substances. So they usually called the cause of the disease as bad air. So in ancient days, diseases such as cholera, tuberculosis, etc., were attributed to what we call bad air. So they believed that when you get exposure to this bad air that comes from rotten, decaying substances or pollution, so the word miasmas actually means pollution. That is when you get exposed to these diseases. So it was the germ theory that proved that diseases are caused by microorganisms. Alright, so quickly let's go through some terminologies in the concept of contagion. So when we say pathogens are disease-causing microorganisms. So any microorganism that is capable of causing a disease is called a pathogen. Any microorganism that is capable of causing a disease is called a pathogen. Then we have infection. Infection occurs when pathogens grows and multiply in the host. So an infection does not only occur when pathogen enters the host, but also when the pathogens begin to grow and multiply, that is when the infection is seen. So you can have an infection or you can be introduced to a pathogen, but you might not have an infection because probably the pathogens might be cleared up or cleaned up by our immune system or something. But the moment the pathogen begins to grow and spread, that is when the infection sign is seen, or that is when it is termed as infection. Then we have infectious diseases. So any change from a state of the health in which all parts or some parts of the body is incapable of carrying out its normal function due to the presence of microorganism or its product. So here we have or its product too as well. So it's not always the entry of the microorganism that can cause an infectious disease. Sometimes its product. For instance, there are certain bacteria that might introduce toxins. We have endotoxins and exotoxins into the bloodstream to cause infectious diseases. So it's not always the presence of the organism. The organism's product might also cause diseases too as well. Then we have zoonosis. Zoonosis is the transmission of diseases from animal to man. So most of the time we are warned of not taking bats because bats are the host of a lot of diseases, a lot of contagious diseases. So we can talk about the Ebola virus. We can even talk about SARS-CoV. So that is zoonosis for you. The transmission of disease from animal to man is what we call zoonosis. Then we have pathogenicity. It's the ability of an organism to cause diseases. So it's not all organisms or all microorganisms that can cause a disease, but the pathogenic one. So the ability of a microorganism to cause a disease is what we call pathogenicity. Pathogenicity. Okay. Then we also have opportunistic pathogens. These opportunistic pathogens are also called normal flora. So the organisms that are part of the host microbiota. So we talk about host microbiota. They are part of the host microorganism or microbiological composition, but may adapt certain pathogenic rules, such as when the immune system is compromised. So there are certain pathogens that are opportunistic. They are mostly found in as part of our body. They don't cause any harm. But then when there is a situation like the compromise of the immune system, those opportunistic pathogens adapt a pathogenic role and become harmful to the body. There are certain microorganisms that are found in our intestines. When they appear somewhere like in our lungs or in our upper respiratory tract, they can cause an infection, although they are opportunistic pathogens or they are normal flora in other places. Okay. Then we have infectious agents. So organisms that are capable of causing an infection is known as an infectious agent. So we may have the metazoans, or let's say the parasites. These are the parasites. Then we have the protozoas. Then we have the bacteria. Then we have the fungus. We have the viruses. So these are basically what pathogens, what we call pathogens, or disease-causing microorganisms. So it's not any disease that is caused by bacteria. In infectious disease, there are some diseases that are caused by viruses. So when we talk about viruses, we can talk about diseases such as HIV and AIDS. We can talk about hepatitis B. We can talk about hepatitis C. We can talk about cytomegaloviral infection or cytomegalovirus. We can talk about even common cold. Common cold is a viral infection. Then we talk about bacteria. There is a whole lot of infection that we can talk about. We can talk about syphilis infection. Then we can talk about ulcers. We have the stomach ulcer. That is caused by H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori. Then there's a whole lot of bacterial diseases that we can talk about. Yeah. Then we have the fungus. That one we talk about we talk about the candida infections. Then we can talk about all the other eczema, skin infections, and all other skin infections. Yeah, those are caused by fungus. Then parasites, for the parasites, they causes infections such as schistosomiasis. We have the schistosomiasis that's caused by schistosoma hematobium. Then we have amoebiasis, which is caused by interamoeba stylitica. Then a whole lot of parasitic infections. We can talk about a whole lot. So in our future videos under microbiology, when we are tackling parasitology, we'll go into details. Okay, so these are what we call infectious agents or pathogens or disease-causing microorganisms. Alright, then we have pathogenesis or pathogenesis. So it's a step-by-step mechanisms involved in the development of disease. So that is what we mean by pathogenesis, step-by-step mechanisms involved in the development of diseases. So in every disease we have step-by-step procedures that ensures that the disease is a success, or that ensure the gradual process of the execution of the disease. So gradual process of the execution of the disease. So for instance, malaria, when there is going to be a malaria infection, there has to be a process through which the infection can be complete. Alright, we will talk more into details in future videos. Okay. So we talk about microbiota. It's a microbial flora harbored by healthy individuals. So no matter how the human being can never be sterile, because we still have microorganisms in us, although they might not be pathogenic, but they are considered as normal flora or microbial flora or microbiota. So these are free living microorganisms that are found in the body. Some helps in digestion, some helps in protection, etc. So microorganisms are actually important to us, and not all a few percentage of the microorganisms are pathogenic, but most of the microorganisms helps us, and they are also used for. They also have economic importance, like the manufacturing of yogurt, the manufacturing of soap, the manufacturing of etc. Then we have carrier. A carrier is an asymptomatic patient capable of transmitting infection. So someone can have a disease and might not show symptoms. For instance, someone might have a disease like latest COVID and might not show symptoms, but is capable of spreading the disease. So such a person is known as what? A carrier. Okay, so the person is asymptomatic. It means the person does not show symptoms and yet spreads the disease. So that is a carrier. Then we have invasion. So invasion is the process where organisms enters the host and tissue and spreads. So when a microorganism enters the body and begin to spread, it's called an invasion. Okay, then we have virulence. It's the quantitative ability of a microorganism to cause a disease. So when we talk about the quantitative ability of the microorganisms, some microorganisms might enter the body but may not be able to cause a disease. They might enter the body but they may not be able to cause a disease because they do not have enough virulence. So the virulence could be their number. That is what we mean by quantitative ability. Sometimes we might